This is real-life Flappy Bird. It's a video game, but you control it by flapping your actual arms. Here's William Osman playing it, and Estefannie, the Hacksmith, Jabrils, even Marc Rober's staff, and a bunch of other science and engineering YouTubers we know and love. And here are the absolute legends who set progressively higher world records, all leading up to...
Oh, what?
Well, something unexpected happening. But before we can get into that, you need to know the amazing but true origin story of Flappy Bird. What caused the explosive rise and catastrophic fall of one of the most popular games of all time? What happened to Flappy Bird? In 2013, a seemingly simple mobile game called Flappy Bird was uploaded to the App Store. You just tap the screen to make your bird flap and try not to hit the pipes. That's it. It had okay but not great reviews until a Swedish YouTuber named PewDiePie promoted it on his channel. Other game reviewers quickly followed, and this little game flew to the top of the Apple downloads list and took the internet by storm, creating a viral sensation that reached an astronomical 90 million downloads. At the peak of Flappy Bird mania, it was earning $50,000 every day just from ad revenue for creator Nguyen, and it caused so much traffic that it actually crashed Apple's gaming server. That's according to my friends at Apple. But just as quickly as it rose to fame, Flappy Bird mysteriously disappeared off the App Store forever, never to come back. Its creator made the surprising decision to essentially delete the game from existence. Fans were desperate for more Flappy Bird. Hundreds of copycats quickly appeared, but none would ever capture the attention and excitement of the original. Smartphones that still had Flappy Bird on them suddenly became so valuable they would sell for thousands of dollars on eBay, because to this day, it's the only way you can play the original game. Gamers demanded to know what happened. It turns out Nguyen, who created Flappy Bird, felt the game was too addictive and it wasn't doing people any good. And even though he was making an incredible amount of money, he essentially took one for the team and removed it from the App Store, in an amazing act of self-sacrifice for the greater good. Fast forward to today, there's now hundreds of clones of Flappy Bird, from this Nyan Cat version to this one that Australian YouTuber CodeBullet made in Microsoft Paint.
We got Flappy Bird, baby, easy.
By the way, here's CodeBullet playing my real-life Flappy Bird, but we'll get to all these YouTubers later. So with all these clones out there, a reasonable person might say, does the world really need another Flappy Bird? Yes. We need one more. We need one that actually addresses the whole reason Nguyen took down the original game. What if we could make one that actually improves people's lives through exercise? This is the final Flappy Bird. In order to turn Flappy Bird into an exercise game, first we need some way of detecting what your arms are doing. We could use a Microsoft Kinect. It's a depth sensing camera made by Microsoft, and it lets you control video games using your body. But then everyone would need to buy a Kinect to play, and Microsoft doesn't even make them anymore. Now I know what you're gonna say. Why don't you use AI? AI solves everything. Well, okay, we'll use AI. This is an AI model Google released called MoveNet. It can do body tracking at a mind-blowing 140 frames per second. I use this on my real-life Punch-Out game. I'll put the link down below if you want to check that out. So here's me wiggling around. Let's think about what our next steps are. Our goal is that when you flap your arms, that should make your bird flap. Let's try a simple approach first and see if that works. Once my arm reaches this position, that should trigger a flap. So I'll program the game to flap when my wrists are at the same height as my shoulders. Okay, it's working, but it flaps on the way up, which is weird. Let's keep track of whether we're moving up or down and only trigger flaps on the way down. All right, slightly better, but there's a new problem. If you keep your arms at the trigger point, the noise in the tracking system causes lots of accidental flaps to be detected. If you ever actually build things, you need to understand this point. Every sensor has noise. Like, here's me on a digital scale. See the numbers moving up and down? My weight isn't changing, it's just noise in the sensor. How about another one? Here's a 9-volt battery. If I measure the voltage, you would expect to see 9 volts, right? Well, fresh batteries always have a little extra voltage in them, so this one's almost 9.7 volts. But look out here in the smaller decimal places. See the digits flipping around? That's noise in the voltage sensor. And we see the same thing in our Flappy Bird. Even if I hold my arm super still, look at the position that's being detected. It's always changing just a little bit because there's always just a little bit of noise. And that's true of any sensor you'll ever use. So somehow our game needs to filter out this noise. Okay, new idea. After a flap is detected, we ignore any further flap detections until your arms get this low. This area in between is like a neutral zone, where nothing happens until your arms get down to the reset position. So we flap, then we reset, then we flap, then we reset. And now we have reinvented a 144-year-old concept called hysteresis. What a word. Hysteresis is when your outputs can change based on the history of your system. Like, let's say your house is cold and you turn up the temperature setting on your thermostat. Your furnace will heat up your house and the temperature will go up until it's maybe 1 degree hotter than your setting. Then it turns off. Next, your house will slowly lose that heat and cool down. So the temperature goes down through this neutral zone where nothing happens until it's maybe 1 degree cooler than your setting, and then the heater turns on again. And that cycle happens over and over to keep your house within 1 degree of your setting. This little buffer zone, the 2 degrees in between turning on and turning off, is called hysteresis. So this has 2 degrees of hysteresis. You'll find this concept everywhere. Here's a joystick that has a little bit of a neutral zone. Here's a motion sensor that turns the lights on after just 1 second of motion, but it won't turn them off again until 5 minutes of no motion. So that's 5 minutes and 1 second of hysteresis. For our game, I'm gonna add 50 pixels of hysteresis. This is looking good. And it continued to look good until I had some friends try it out. That's when I learned that people flap their arms in very different ways. I can't make all of these work, but I think I can make most of them work. The main problem was that people weren't hitting the threshold positions, so the flaps weren't being triggered. I could make a tutorial that explains where the positions are, but it's gonna be a much better game if it just works without a lot of explanation. So instead of the threshold being a position, how about we trigger a flap when your hands reach a certain speed, regardless of their position? So now you can trigger a flap like this, or even like this. And I decided to take the average velocity of your 2 hands so you can even play with just 1 arm. You might be wondering where this Flappy Bird game came from. I don't have the source code for Flappy Bird. I wrote this from scratch in JavaScript using a game engine called Kaboom. And since I wrote it, I can add weird features. Like, this exercise is great for your arms, but what about those leggies? I added a feature where if you lift your leg, it drops an egg. And if you can land the egg in a pipe, your egg will hatch and you'll get 3 extra points. I did this because I thought it might be funny to watch people move like this, and I was right.
Oh, you got one though.
With the game finished, I took it to a convention called Open Sauce. Open Sauce is an amazing 2-day public event, kind of like Maker Faire, where you can see some of the weirdest, funnest things in the world. This event is organized by YouTubers like William Osman. If you watch William Osman on YouTube, you probably think he's gonna be a nice, funny guy who's full of encouragement. Well, I have news for you. He is! All these YouTubers are, and tons of them came by to try my game. Here's Applied Science, Sean Hodgins, Jen Herchenroeder, and Alan Pan. They just came over to check out my game. No pressure from me. Alan, wake up, come play my game.
Right out here.
Now I know what you're wondering, who played the best? Look, it's not all about winning. We're not gonna plot a graph of every YouTuber and what their score was and do a linear regression to find out whether or not there's a relationship between subscriber count and how far you got in the game. That would be petty. But as the weekend went by, higher and higher scores began to appear. This guy in the banana suit got to 14.
Oh yeah.
Jen Herchenroeder got to 20. Eddie got to 31. Jack from Crunch Labs got 38. And then a huge leap to Tim at 80.
I'm so tired.
Flap through the pain. Think anyone can beat it? Well, this woman with a cool hat got to 98. Then Marcu from Marc Rober's channel took over the lead with 104. Eventually topped by Jonathan at 133. And then came Noah. And with only 5 minutes before Open Sauce closed, he was on track to be the final world record holder at Real Life Flappy Bird. Here he is at 110, 111, and then suddenly,
Oh, what?
the power went out. Noah was so close to a new world record, and the power went out. Well, I wasn't gonna let Noah here get robbed of his chance at glory. So I tracked him down, and I decided wherever he is, I'm gonna fly out to meet him.
Salt Lake City, Utah.
I decided wherever he is, I'm gonna video chat with him. and give him his rightful chance to claim the title. As his score steadily climbed, I thought about how cool it is to have events like Open Sauce and Maker Faire to bring together people that love to make stuff. There's so many amazing things here. People just had these ideas pop into their heads and they thought, yeah, I'm gonna make that. And William Osman and the organizers like Jen Schachter, they worked so hard to bring this community together.
It was very hard.
Even months after Open Sauce, here's my new friend Noah and I hanging out over video chat so I can watch him, yep, set a new world record.
Yeah!
I want you to have a chance to set a new world record too, so I worked my butt off and figured out how to get this game online. Just search for Real Life Flappy Bird on Steam, or click the link below. All you need is a webcam and at least one arm, or a friend with arms.